Let's go. Hey, we're back.
Hey.
This is a lot of stuff is ready and planned for today, but we're back with a world building stream. This is just all about off topic. We're going to go over the history, creation myth and everything, from the beginning. But also, we're just going to get really off topic today. How is everybody today? Thank you, Nate, for gifting Cade a sub. Thank you, Cade, for scamming a sub out of Nate. Has to be done.
Has to be done. It all comes around eventually.
And to answer your question, Nate, I am not going to PAX, unfortunately. I am stuck in Ireland as of the moment. I know, it's a surprise.
What up, boys? What up, Cade? How you doing? I need a sub, Cade. See, Cade, now you gotta buy Kyle a sub. It all goes round, alright? Pass it on.
No, he doesn't need one, he needs one.
Oh, right, okay.
It's alright.
Sorry.
He's gonna get his buddy Ned to get him one. Not much, Nate. We're going to talk about the Divine Observer and the Void Dragon. We're going to really get into lore that is still to reach. Kate says I am a sub if that counts for anything, but you think I'm a sub for Nate now. You are a sub for Nate. That is correct.
Yes, confirmed.
That is how it works.
That is canon now. If someone buys you a sub, you're now their sub. That's how this works. The rules of Twitch.
Nate says, ooh, Void Dragon. Yeah, well, I suppose we started we've talked about this a little bit ourselves, Raf. Quentos, the setting, the cosmology of the universe, which I don't know if I have a name for the universe or if it's just the kind of the Quentos, Quentos universe.
I don't think we've ever discussed a name, or at least that you've brought up a name for the universe.
I don't believe I have.
Yeah, maybe it just goes unnamed.
Next session, you need to search about. No, I don't, Kyle. I put things in the game. It's up to the players to search things. I am not a player, so
we could have searched.
And they're off the boat. The boat is no more.
Yeah, it's sunk to the bottom of the bay.
Wait, what? Hold up.
Sorry, it's just shit. I didn't tell you that.
Oh shit. But no, so
all part of Calicinda's schemes.
In our setting, everything was created by at the start there was two beings, only two: the Divine Observer and the Void Dragon, a being of utmost creation and a being of utmost destruction, at a constant odds with each other. So, in a sort of endless battle, it came to a stage where the Divine Observer, obviously, they created the cosmology and they created what we now see as some of the great old gods. And specifically, there was a few great old gods that were made with the intent of trying to fight as avatars for the Divine Observer against the Void Dragon. Primarily led by a being called the Dawn Watcher. That was, of the great old ones made, it was one of the most important, so to speak. Hey, Fishik, may I ask if and how a masked vigilante works in your world? I don't think we've ever had a masked vigilante, Fishik.
No, I don't think. Actually, the only one we had was briefly in the Durapadon side. AJ played a character who was a masked vigilante of sorts with Aaron.
Yeah, and that worked by him killing a noble who he thought was bad, so it got replaced with a worse noble who was then experimenting on children. And Cal, the Twinkle schemes opposed to the Decaying Lord, the Father schemes, canonically confirmed.
Absolutely
says,
confirmed.
I'm only stopping in to say
Twinkle
hi,
schemes.
got an early flight, so I'm going to bounce, so we'll catch the VOD later. See you later, boys. Incorrect, you didn't just stop in to say hi, you came in to collect your sub. Cade, please pack yourself in Nate's belongings and go to PAX.
Oh, fuck's sake. But see, Nate, I hope it all goes well for you.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe down the line we'll be at PAX.
I didn't see Fiju comment. It didn't come off.
I was don't know. It was $5. He asked the question with, which is very cool. Thank you for the $5.
I did. There we go.
Is there a specific way you want to know how, as opposed to a regular masked vigilante? I'm not sure I necessarily understand fully. In theory, it could work. Anyone could do it, but it'd just be a thing of In fact, I think we have had something not so much a mass vigilante, but we definitely had vigilante justice with Lynn. Lynn was vigilante justice against the Fae courts.
And against their servants.
He had no issue like Batman does with killing people, but he went in there and he was like, I have perfected my life to killing you. Which is, vigilante justice in a sense. He saw Fae creatures getting away with stuff that he did not agree with, but I'm not sure I understand the full scope of the question, Fijuk. So if you could just clarify a little for me. Just wondering about mass vigilantes period in Dungeons and Dragons. I think that was a way to ask the question. It certainly was a way to ask the question.
Okay.
It could work. 100% it could work. I don't see how necessarily a masked vigilante is really any different to an adventurer going down to hunting bandits. It's vigilante justice all the same.
Yeah, it'd be quite hard for a D&D character in a group type of thing to keep up the whole master vigilante thing, which could be part of an interesting character, but there comes a certain point that playing D&D, characters grow to the point of where it's impossible to keep themselves entirely hidden.
I suppose unless the entire group was doing it as, not so much a hidden, they don't care if their public name is known, but they just trying to keep their personal name in life. I don't know how they... I could see a wizard being very good, or I think the perfect mass vigilante character, not so much mass vigilante, but would be a warlock of many faces. Or a changeling would make a very, very good one. I think it definitely can work, but it definitely would take the right game, because it's... D&D adventures tend to span the scope of continents, not just cities and countries, where we often see vigilante stories take place. I think an early level story of vigilantism could work. Yeah, I think a vigilante is pretty similar to a D&D adventurer if you think about it. It's if you take out the gold side of things, then how are they? How do they differ that much?
You could very much have a group of adventurers or whatever they are in a player characters in a D&D setting who only take vigilante type missions. They're not interested in anything else. They could be performing those type of things. I think it'd be quite easy, especially if you have more of even a city crawling type of game.
Yeah, absolutely.
To really bring it out.
I don't think so much. Okay, so I've been interested in a thief type character who uses a token to represent their crimes, but it's just something to do with our official group things we do in our games. Yeah, it would definitely, again, that'd be like a city crawling game, Cade. I think that would work in conjunction with a vigilante style character, but it'd be kind of it would have to fall in the realm of, this is the party, using some of the group mechanics even. I think a guild organization stuff from Kingdoms of Warfare, a Thieves Guild kind of thing, could work very, very well for that. But it's something that I don't think one character alone can do.
Yeah. I think definitely if you started the game at a higher level as well, then it could be something, an interesting backstory to a character. I think that could potentially be...
Even as a lower level, I would imagine just there's even if you think about starting at level 1, we kind of can go back to our Devils in the Muck, when you're playing private investigators. Imagine you do level 1, but it's I am deciding to be a vigilante tonight, and it's kind of like that first opening scene from Kick-Ass where you just get your teeth kicked in.
Yeah. Actually that'd be kind of interesting.
Just absolutely shit stomped. Oh god.
Yeah. Oh god, what have I got myself into?
Kate says, I don't think it's necessarily a city-specific thing, but we often have our characters' real names associated with a group, which means the hidden persona thing is hard to pull off. No, I fully agree with that. I think that's why I'm saying not so much dedicated city crawler. I just think city crawler would be a better backdrop than an open world game like we have right now. And I think it would be something that the group would have to, as a whole, agree, we're not using official names. We will talk official names to each other, but there is no we're going to go to the mayor, the king, whatever, to do this. It's no, we're going to skulk around bars and hear this stuff and find crime lords and break into their homes, and that's where they get their money from.
Yeah, it would have to be very much a campaign that is geared up towards you could have a character who tries to keep this up and tries to act out as a master vigilante, but I think it would work better if that was the focus of the campaign was around being a group of vigilantes, masked vigilantes. I think that could be quite an interesting campaign idea. Because then obviously in other campaigns like the Kingslayers campaign that we're currently in, trying to be a masked vigilante just straight up wouldn't work. It would have failed in the first session, where all of our identities were known. So,
no, that's a very good point. This is just my petition to stop forcing government-assigned group organizations and official paperwork. There are old radio shows that do vigilante justice for hire. This is not must have guns, will travel, for example. I'm not familiar with that. Yeah, imagine trying to be a massive vigilante Kingslayers. You kill Anathor, Tyrandir, and just like mask ripped off. Who the fuck are you? So, but no, yeah, I think it can work. It definitely can work. I'm not sure if, like, it's kind of one of these things. It's like, I'm not sure if D&D is the best system for that. Like, I think there's probably better systems for it, but
look, there's always a better system out there. For a lot of things, there's always a more specific system that does it better.
Like, if you're really trying to hit that superhero feel of like vigilante justice, you know, it really depends what sort of trope you're trying to hit. Like, do you want to be like super busted, like, you know, one person taking on like 20 people like Batman, breaking their backs but not breaking their persons, you know, not killing them. It's kind of varies. But I think it can work. It could work in D&D, but it'd be something that it would have to almost be the focus of the campaign, is at least at early levels.
Yeah, 100%. Cade, it just takes cooperation with the group and DM. The rogue's got that thief subclass for a reason, after all. True. I just think that if in cooperation with the group and DM, if that was like the focus of a campaign, it could work. It could actually like be very, very fun.
Yeah, you could definitely have like the heist team, like the break-in expert. Like you could really build
exactly.
That's what I'm talking about. Heist group, like the getaway driver and all. But
yeah, you could like fulfill all the like the tropes of like the heist group. I think actually, you know what?
You have an Aarakocra above as your eyes in the sky.
That is, you know, that's fucking solid. I love that.
Which makes a better thief rogue or shadow monk? Probably shadow monk.
I would honestly say shadow monk. It's a supernatural
shadow monk with a couple levels dips in rogue to get that expertise, or maybe even just bard.
No, just high key the shadow sorcerer.
A lot of
ultimate shadows. But Des.
So yeah, Void Dragon. And what was originally with that? After
the mythology of our universe.
The mythology of our universe. So yeah, it all
there were two beings. Two beings.
The Divine Observer and the Void Dragon. The Divine Observer obviously made the 9 realms as we know it, and beings that went around and monitored and watched them, such as the Sentry Great Worms. And obviously the Void Dragon wanted to destroy these. There was many realms before. And thank you for gifting a sub to Kyle. Very cool of you.
Oh, thank you.
Say thank you. But then there was beings made by the Divine Observer when they were really trying to fight back to protect their creations. And that was beings such as, I believe, God, this is me trying to pull names that I'm trying to remember the family tree. So it's the Dawn Watcher, the Arbitrator, the Guiding Light, the Dying God.
Do we still have the full family tree?
I think we probably do. And Demon,
because
hello.
you and I absolutely cracked late one night, just decided to do an entire family tree for all of the old gods. It took us way too long. We didn't think anyone was ever going to see it. But we did it.
It's under the Divine.
Hey, Demon. How are you doing, Demon?
Yeah, I've got the family tree here. Actually, this is a very...
Can you send it through to me?
It's just under the Dawn Watcher.
On the board now.
Yep. So actually, I wonder, can I bring this over or will this scuff it? So let's check this out. So, a lot of beings made by our Divine Observer. Specifically, some beings made particularly to break down and destroy the Void Dragon. So we got the Arbitrator. No, not all of these are. Oops, I clicked on someone. I did not mean to. Family trees, work in progress. Yeah, so you've got the Hangman, you've got Guiding Light, you've got the Arbitrator, you've got the Dying God, Dawn Watcher. But specifically what the Matron of the Woods is, if this family tree loads.
Just one small thing. Why is the Dying God up there twice?
You shut the fuck up. So we can see the Void Dragon then got broke down into 3 parts as they were disassembled. The Horned Serpent, the Jeweled Wings, and the Matron of the Woods. After the Void Dragon got completely destroyed, it split into 3 parts. Eventually down the line of the history, we'll get to the Horned Serpent. It kind of absorbed one of his siblings to become known as the Dragon King. And if all 3 absorbed back together, it would reform the Void Dragon, which would be our world-ending apocalyptic event for Quenthis. Demon says,
look,
I want it to be like a monster handling class. Like, yes, I know we can tame beasts, but monsters have so much more nuance and interesting designs. What am I going to say? Demon, have you checked out the Beast Heart class from Matt Coville? It's pretty much what you're describing. It's very good.
Yeah. Absolutely spot on.
So if you said the floor people are going to start doing the floor upstairs, going to put my ear defenders on and attempt to sleep. Thanks for being awesome and or Raph. I am awesome and
Thank you.
Raph.
You are me. It is factual. We are the same person.
Have you ever seen that show Cat Dog from Nickelodeon?
Yeah.
That's actually why the camera's cut off below here. It's because it's just like this long sausage-like body that's just between me and Raph.
Just goes over into the next room. Yeah. No, it's just that long. Goes into the next room.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you've never seen us both our legs in the same room, is all I'm saying.
Never show our legs on the stream.
No. But that's what me and Raph are. It's just we are a cat dog with human.
No foot cams. So
it's not a centipede, okay? Don't worry, it's a millipede.
There's Raph centipede.
There's loads of mini legs. All human.
That's cursed. That's fucking cursed.
Now that's what we really fan art of.
Yep. Anyone who wants to do fan art, do the Des Raph centipede. But yeah, I think it's actually with the Void Dragon. There's almost each of the 3 different parts to it almost represented different aspects of it. As in the Horned Serpent was the much more chaotic, destructive part to it, whereas the Jeweled Wings were much more of the ordered and
everything must come to an end.
Like the civilized. Yeah, the civilized type of side to it in that light. Whereas the Matron, I suppose, is more about like the natural world itself and about the natural cycle of life and death almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the next most logical thing for the Dawn Watcher is, if you can't have children with the creature you just destroyed, what can you do? And that's how we have a big family tree. A big family tree spawns from the Dawn Watcher and the Matron of the Woods. They expanded upon. And the Dawn Watcher and the Matron of the Woods specifically became the 2 beings that decided to no longer seek this power as great old ones that don't need worship, but they were like, well, after this, like, the part of the Matron of the Wood that realized she's part of the Void Dragon fell in love with the Dawn Watcher. They're like, she didn't want the destruction anymore. She wanted to feel what it was like to create. So between her and the Dawn Watcher, they started settling the prime material, what will become known as the prime material realm, and creating the races of humanity. Between them and their children made summon a fair few many gods who aren't on this family tree because they died in the War of the Gods and have been lost to time.
Some which went across the other side of the world, not to name names.
Not to name names, but
yeah. The first of their creations, of course, being the Star Elves.
The Star Elves. So, I believe specifically it is the Dawn Watcher, the Hangman's Ship, the Arbitrator, the Guiding Light, and the Dying God were the were the ones who broke apart the Void Dragon. That was their initial created purpose. And they did a really good job. But then we kind of have issues where the children, unfortunately, of the Dawn Watcher and the Matron of the Woods, not all of them inherited the positive aspects of both parents. Unfortunately, the Eye of Ruin inherited a lot of what would be considered Void Dragon energy. And
yeah, that BVD.
BVD. Okay, the Hangman ship sounds cool. How come I don't remember them? Because they were the god of the afterlife. Like, they were for Durapidon, and for like kind of the cooler Zygolia, they were the ferrymen for Souls. They are the ferrymen. Yeah. Were the ferrymen. I'd have to double check my list of which gods have canonically been killed.
No, I think they were one of the ones that actually survived, because they were more like transitionary between the afterlife and this world. They weren't like as focused on the prime material. But as we know,
the fact that they were a necessary component for the life cycle, because actually,
as we know as well,
they're not. That is how. I'm pretty sure the.
We know as well that the Dragon King straight up lied about some of the gods being killed, that he actually killed, which is the case. Like, some of them weren't killed. He just lied about it and said that he did it, knowing that they won't wake up. So it's like,
well, we'll get to the War of the Gods bit in a minute. So I think
we'll get to that later.
We have very little structure for today. So please stick with us and ask questions if we get too sidetracked. Yeah, we left off with Souls just starting River 6. So yeah, I will answer this, Kate. I believe canonically the Hangman ship did die, but the River 6 doesn't actually exist anymore, because that was before we restructured Osiris to no longer use any form of Forgotten Realms stuff. But essentially, the reason that Zygolia was able to claim the domain is because, first of all, he was put to sleep, so that's why that domain's able to claim. But I don't know. I think he has. I'm not sure if he has. I definitely have a list written somewhere among all my notes.
Look, we've changed the structure of the cosmology a lot since the initial Durapidon side of things was written.
Yeah.
And that almost, in a sense, the Hangman wasn't so much there to, how to say this, wasn't there to make sure that more of like an escort for souls going to the other side, so that beings won't, as we've discussed, there are beings that would snatch these souls, that would prey upon these souls traveling to the afterlife. So I see the Hangman as almost being the person that would protect them and escort these souls through, whilst not necessarily being everything to that process. Plays a large role in making sure they get there safely.
Sure. But let's continue our timeline a little bit. This actually would be a very good thing to make a timeline for our world and for people who do have access to our world Anvil.
Yeah.
After the Void Dragon was broken down into many parts, and then the Ferryman archetype is always cool, Kate. After the Void Dragon was broken down, all these great old gods decided to settle in Mortal Realm and, want to explore aspects of divinity. We saw a lot of many years of prosperity. There was what is referred to in Durapidon, the other side of our realm, is called the Age of Mysticism, which was a couple centuries of prosperity. It was the first era as gods settled the realm. It is as the Star Elves walked the mortal realm, and it's when all the gods, good, evil, and alignment non-mattering at the moment, existed within not harmony, but with domains on the material realm, having homes. And pre-Age of Mysticism was killing the Jotuns on the side of Durapidon, and that's technically the age that the Dying God would have died in as well, when they tried to go over to the Quenthian side and did that there. That ended with the severing of the Star Elves, the schism between all of them, fracturing them into different aspects, such as Wood Elf, High Elf. Those ones.
There's only really
had High Elf. We had Sun, Moon, Wood Elf.
Yeah, there was no actual High Elves.
No, they're sun and moon elves, which were broken down for different aspects of worship for the Dawn Watcher, but a War of the Gods broke out predominantly due to two deities, one being the son of the Dawn Watcher called the Eye of Ruin, who actually features in our Quenthian side as well. He sought to seek himself as the ruler of humanity and of the mortal races, along with his wife, the no 420 elves, SMH. You're right, Kate. But he had a wife called the Bloody Dame, who we talked a little bit about in our demon stream as well. She shattered an entire planet. She was a great old being. And together they also had many children, but were almost exclusively, bar like one or two, were evil. Like just straight up. Like we can open up the Eye of Ruin's family.
But as we know from the Bloody Dame, she herself was essentially corrupted by Zarkoved the Shattered Tower, so it became very much of a old god, but charged with the energies of the abyss of Zarkoved.
Yeah, it's this family tree is not the easiest to navigate, but we've, I think of all his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 children, only one was not just evil, which was the Golden Pillar. Second you click on anything. Alright, we've got full 3 here. Oh god. Where? Fuck up. Well, we had a lot of knock-ons, and the War of the Gods claimed many great old gods. They were killing each other a lot, and it was in history the only time that the Divine Observer stepped in any way since the shattering of the Void Dragon. And that was to send what is known as the Queller Gods. It was 5 deities specifically brought into existence by the Divine Observer to stop the War of the Gods, in which we saw it come to an end, and that was when the Eye of Ruin realized the error of their ways and fled the consequences, and to Quenthos with some of their followers that wish to find redemption. Putting all the other great old gods, severing their their material and spiritual form, and putting the material form into a deep slumber and hiding it somewhere on the prime material or one of the realms, one of the 9 realms. I don't know if we want to go too much into the Queller Gods, because I feel like we're giving out a lot of information now, and it's just going to get very...
Yeah. The Divine Observer is kind of cringe for sticking its nose where it belongs. Yeah, look, the Divine Observer is kind of cringe. No one even knows that they exist. They just float around in space, creating
That's
things.
The thing.
It's pretty
there
cringe.
Is no knowledge if they confirmed exist. It is the creation theory.
Actually, I'm curious, would some of the first of the old gods, like the Dawn Watcher or the Dying God, or ones like that, would they know of the existence of their creator, of the Divine Observer, or is that in the dark for them?
They know something made them. Okay. They are aware enough, but they don't know. They were made, and when they were made, like, for example, the Dawn Watcher was made, and he was made with a purpose, along with his siblings. And it's like, I've made my purpose. I am to kill and break down this being. They weren't like contacted by the Divine Observer. It's like it was like almost innately built into their very essence of wanting to fight against this.
Yeah.
No, Kate, I would not put the Divine Observer as anything player related.
Yeah, think of it this way: the Divine Observer is there as a means of explaining the old mythology of creation of the universe, the way that we use to, explain how everything first came to be from the very start. Also, and besides that, they won't really ever, I imagine, play a role in anything for any characters, any campaign.
No. The best way I can describe why it wouldn't happen, I can actually give a mechanical reason. So all magic in our world, stems from the Divine Observer, and even on the material realm, we'll talk about the history of Darapin. When gods actually got severed, magic became less common, and all magic comes from gods, which is an extension of all magic coming from the Divine Observer. So the best way I can describe, if someone tried to be a warlock of the Divine Observer, have you ever seen a tick that has drank too much blood and explodes?
Mm-hmm.
It would be like that. You would just suddenly get the same flux of magic and just pop. Like, you would...
Yeah. If anyone successfully managed to make a pact or try to tap into the power of the Divine Observer, it would be too much for them to... Like, it would overwhelm them.
Their body would explode.
Completely.
Just...
Yeah. Like, the only beings that are capable of channeling the powers of the Divine Observer are the old gods. That's it. Which they use for their own works of creation and the like. I imagine that's very much them channeling...
Like, this myth in Quenthos and Durapada now, where randomly people just fucking explode and no one knows why.
I love that. I love that. And anyone with like detect magic just sees like this magical explosion randomly, like no source, just this random magical explosion. Just that's grim. That's fucking grim.
But no, the best way I think about it, Kate, is Raph puts very, very well there. The great old ones are warlocks essentially to the Divine Observer. They get their power from that being. Like,
but they're
sorcerers,
also,
I suppose, is a better way of putting it.
I was going to say they're more sorcerers. Yeah. They're more sorcerers.
Yeah, they're sorcerers.
But their divine, whatever it's called, their lineage, their bloodline is just, you know, the being that created everything.
It is one way to go.
But yeah.
Does the Divine Observers drink milk? The Divine Observer doesn't drink. No. We talked about them a little bit in our last World stream.
Chocolate milk.
They are just a being in the center of Karsathor. They're just there, creating.
However, that means they created both whiskey and milk. So technically, the Divine Observer created milk in the first place. So Kyle, I think this is a being that you should show all your devotion to.
Careful not to show too much devotion, you will explode.
A divine soul salt with patron. No, I'd like in terms of Oh, you mean? I thought you meant like a divine soul sower who could have a patron as the Divine Observer. But yeah, essentially that's what the old gods are.
No, I'd say none of them are warlocks because they don't even can't confirm. Like, they explain it by they believe, like, even the old gods, like, we were brought into existence by a being that does not act, just observes. Like. And the only other being that worshipped that was the first other beings on the Tier realm, which was the Jotuns. So.
Yeah.
If the party ever has to go to Durapadin, they have to rule the wisdom saving check every time they do. A rest or long rest. Why? Why? Durapadin has mortal races on it. It's just separated from Quenthos.
Now you're a good kid. It's late for me as well. I don't read. I don't read everything like I should.
Look, we skim chat in this house.
We skim chat in this house, all right? Skim chat only. No full cream chat. To be funny. Yeah, you know what? That would be funny. But yeah, so it's interesting actually. Why didn't... Now, this is something I've been curious about actually. When the old gods first came to the Prime Material and decided to very much become civilized great old ones, in a sense, why did they all decide, in terms of the bulk of them, they all decided to go over to the Durapadin side? And then Yeah.
So, when they landed on Quenthos as a planet, obviously there wasn't that separation between, like, there was the elemental plane of water in between, but yeah, no full cream chat was such a bad joke.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. It's a terrible joke.
Essentially, it was where their war began. It was where their war against the Jotuns began. So, they, in theory, would have gone all the way over, but remember, at that stage, the War of the Gods didn't happen until a few centuries after the Jotuns had been killed. They were a unified force at that stage.
Yeah.
Like, they fought together.
So what stopped them? Like, I know that we've seen a little bit about that in terms of the Dying God saying that I want to go over there and I want to finish the war on that side of the world. What stopped the others from also doing that after they had won on the Durapadin side?
because they had heard Pray tell a story of one of their brethren being shattered.
But I feel like that would almost give like an incentive for someone like the Dawn Watcher to like rally together the old squad and do the same type of thing.
No, so at that stage, there was a lot of decisions made in the war versus the Jotuns on the Drappin side that split decisions, like tough decisions. Because remember, a lot of gods died, and I'd say there was other gods that went over with the dying gods, but just are lost to history. Like stuff that died earlier in the time. You know, there's these gods that actually no, not with the dying god, because that was the entire point. He went over by himself, but.
Yeah.
In the Drappin side, there was many old gods, more than what we have listed, more than I've ever shown you.
Kate, good night. Have fun in your own War of the Gods.
All right, Kate. I'll see you for ranked in an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, Des is gonna play Tryndamere again. Okay, gotta be ready for it.
Tryndamere. Well, no, they partly why they didn't go over is it was almost. If the Jotuns were strong enough as they are to kill gods, all of a sudden they had the fuel of magic from the shards and shattered parts of the dying god to fight back. And after the war kind of ended on the Drappin side, it ends briefly with War of the Jotuns. And gods don't really have to act that quickly. Like, remember, they're immortal. They're like, get to it eventually. Couple centuries, maybe 1 century, 2 century, break out the War of the Gods started. So there started to be like, because obviously it doesn't just start like one day the War of the Gods is started. Like we have our big kickoff event, like opening ceremony. No, it started with small skirmishes specifically from like, and you have to remember at that stage as well, we also had moments where after the War of the Jotuns, you had beings like the Matrons of the Woods giving birth to their children and wanting to raise their children and not start another war when they had safe boundaries. Like they had taken half of the material realm safely. And it was like they cut out, it's not that they wanted to take over completely, they just wanted to cut out land for themselves to have a home.
Yes.
So
okay, yeah. I suppose that would make sense.
Sorry, go ahead.
I suppose that would make sense in a way, like the fatigue of winning the war on the other side and the losses suffered, coupled with the fact that, as you said, they wanted to create their home. They've got a space to do it now. So they'd achieved what they set out to do. Which I'm curious, actually, like in regards to the shattering of the Dying God, is that something that the other ones in what would be later the other side of the world, did they realize that it happened, or was there like no communication of that?
No, they would have, like, briefly from being Catasindir, there was the final call out from the Dying God saying, "Brother, I'm scared."
Yes, but like, was that heard?
Yeah, that would have.
Or was that just like a last words? Okay.
I would say it was heard, but also it's also probably why the Dawn Watcher did not go over it, because there's still that bit of anger. It's like, you defied me and you died. Like, it's like, I'm not going to risk it. And then he has children of his own to take care of and raise. And it's...
Ooh, and a world essentially to rule over.
Yeah, and
to grow with new... Yeah. All of the races that grew there and their civilizations under them.
There was
as we
didn't want to fight another war.
I was going to say as well, there'd be a lot of gods that just wanted to settle this land now. As we know, even from playing on the Drappin side of the world, like there were great cities formed from the gods, palaces of the gods with their own devoted champions and servants of, the mortal races as such. There, which is how, when Godblight first became a major thing, is when you had the gods living among humanity, so to speak. So it's like they had their home, they had their children, their followers, their whole society. Why abandon that in another war that would ultimately give them nothing?
Also, for a thing of like, they also do not know the strength of the Jotuns over there. They know that they're of equal power to the ones that they fought and lost dozens of their own great old ones, like they're great old beings like themselves. And that was, just a thing of like, why would we, like, we have claimed half of the world. Surely this is enough for what we want to do.
Yeah. Just to catch up on chat there. Carl says, I am God. Wrath of one of the old gods looks like Dez. Yes, Dez is the wrath of an old god. I can confirm.
I'm one that died.
Demon says, ask in chat, there's a bit of a question there. Guys, I have a question that may seem weird, but how many outfits should a character have? Because for one of my character, their little gimmick, you could say, is that they skin monsters they defeat and make it into parts for their outfits, like patchwork, if you will. And I want to add some more than, maybe because right now I've cemented like outfit for them, and these outfits having all different textures and stuff could be nice little pieces for them. So how many outfits would be too many? Honestly, as many as you can fit into whatever thing you carry around all of your clothes in, as much as that can fit.
Yeah, that's the thing about adventurers, is they're like, they've got like, unless you've got like a bag of holding and such, to just have them freely changed. But like, unless you're also working at some kind of like armor mechanic as well, I don't think there is too many. I think there's like situations, because like even in our game we have situations where the party has clothes for Sethasa for the extreme heat deserts. You have your regular noble attire for within Burton and
Calisthenic had 4. No, 3. Calisthenic had 3 outfits, reduced to 2.
But also, when you guys go up to Inish Hail, you're going to need more extreme weather clothes for the cold. Otherwise, you will be suffering severe penalties.
Yes.
So, I don't think, like, if characters can have them for many occasions, I don't think, as long as it's not, like, taking up too much time, I don't think there is, like, a too many, like, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it makes sense to you. I would say, like, start with 3 or 4 and see how that feels. See how it goes. Take it from there. But very good question, Demon. Very good question. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Look, I think all it makes sense for all player characters to have multiple sets of outfits.
It makes.
You don't really want to rock up to sort of the Royal Court in the same outfit you've just been killing monsters and bandits in.
Yeah, just blood smatters. Don't even bother prestidigitation it.
Crusty
like
smelling.
Oh, that's grim. Well, yeah, we're talking. What were we talking about?
The gods, the old gods, certainly. Which is actually an interesting point. Is that the gods themselves, like they could change their appearance and decide upon what they would appear as in terms of their god form. But they also had a star elven form, which I think all of them did. Correct me if I'm wrong, but all of them also had a star elven form, which I think was more, as from what we know, is more to when they wanted to appear approachable to their followers, to the races that they created.
There's also the Star Elves. It's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg. There was the Star Elf form of the old gods. They would have just called it their mortal appearance.
You know what? Actually, they created their Star Elven forms first, and then they devised the look of the Star Elves off of themselves. That's what I mean. Like that.
If the Star Elves, were made in it's kind of like in our, like in like Christianity, it's like, oh, made in the image of God or whatever. Like, no, it's actually the Star Elves were made in the images of the mortal visions. And
I like that, actually. I like that a lot.
Then you had other ones like the Arkhammer, who, for example, he was like, I don't really like appearing as a star, but I want to make something that's a little different. I want to make something that's hardier for the mountains, and made dwarves.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was all about, there was a great era of creation, which was the Age of Mysticism, was the Age of Great Magic. DM says, okay, I think 4 would be good, because right now I have a casual outfit for her and a ball gown as well. Maybe one of the extreme weathers could help. Maybe a more stealth-based ones. And say one of the last ones is made for regular tavern parties and fun little parties in public, so they don't have to get extra with the big old dress. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think
that sounds really good.
That makes an awful lot of sense. Definitely I think when our party in Kingslayer starts to get invited to more like formal things, they're going to need. Actually, no, we have another outfit because you have the outfits that Olivia made you. So you did have four. You do have
Yeah,
four.
no, because I had the Sethassa outfit, I had Cal's starting outfit, and I had the Olivia outfit.
Is that all you had? I could have sworn you had more.
That's all I had. Sadly, I mean, look, that's based off of what you get in regards to starting equipment and stuff. I would say that Cal would have more clothing that he would have brought with him, at least like one formal outfit. I would say the extra socks, not those type of socks there. But no, I would say that Cal would probably have his like very much like the formal outfit, like the one that he would wear if he was sitting in court as, you know, Prince. The outfit he would wear for that. I'd say he would have one on that.
Purple latex for Prince, is that the usual, like the musician?
Yes, the one Zamani is very familiar with.
Oh no, abort. You know what's funny though? You don't technically in Ariel Keep there is no grand hall to receive people.
No, there is no
grand entrance hall, which
which is basically kind of. What's that, sorry?
It's probably something you want built onto it.
It's something I want built. However, that's like an expansion as opposed to just fitting in there. Like this with the size that we have of Ariel Keep, like it would require something to be built out from it.
I also love Ariel Keep. Actually, I think this is
I love Ariel Keep,
and Ariel Keep because I don't think we've shown it in a long time.
We haven't shown it for a long time, so completely sidetracked here.
Yeah, chat. Let me know if you want to see the mansion that the pet party has that I made.
Well, it's not, because, you know, it's owned by Calacinda, who was a starless elf, as a descendant of the Star Elves, who are descendants of the old gods. So it all comes around. In a very roundabout
good point.
What I'm actually really interested in is the appearance of the Dying God, how they appeared in both their god form and their Star Elven form, how they chose to appear. I'm very interested to know that.
I would say they'd look very similar to how Calacinda's mother and father would have looked like. That star of like the deep purple skins, like it would be a variant of the star of like that was what they would have looked like.
Okay, that's so they would have
that's why the Starless have purple. Which is
okay. So
another reason why that
just with stars.
When the Pallid Elves completely like the schism happened and became Pallid over Starless, they just lost all form of like still connection to the Dying God, where the Starless at least still have, they're all made in his image. They still have that part of it where it's like the Pallid Elves show, bar like the fact that Pallid Elves in our setting also just have like pure black eyes, they also lost their stars, but not by choice. Like, they've no resemblance now, like comparative to
they've been stripped of their Star Elven, or their similarity to their Star Elven forms.
Yes.
As just like it is completely
evolutionary
justified.
Stage, like seeing as they live within their mountains as well, and they live within their holes, it's kind of like they lost the pigment to their skin as well, but that was kept for the Starless as like part of their faith. It was like, we will stay in his image.
Yeah, absolutely, as is right. And when the stars return, they will be returned to our eyes as well.
Exactly. Until the stars return, brother.
Till the stars return, brother.
I love that as a saying. It became such a natural thing. Like, because until the stars return, it just became the sign up for it.
I can't remember when it started with us, but I can't remember when. But we both started it saying it, and I remember writing it down in some of my journal entries. Until the stars return, and we just started to use it from there. Like, honestly, amazing.
Look, I don't know who started it first. I don't know if it became like a thing when we were talking design, but it became such a natural thing, and now you literally have Wotan Forge, which if you haven't checked out Wotan Forge's projects, you definitely should. It's very, very cool. Dice Keepers and such, we are affiliated with them. We got some click-clack fancy stuff, but it says until the stars return, which honestly has just become like, you know, it stands for so much. It stands for hope. It stands for unity.
Well, because if you look at it as well, for the Starless, it's quite a tragic tale, honestly, because for their entire existence, they have only known conflict and blood.
Yeah.
Whether that was from the Jotuns serving alongside the Dying God in that war, the years afterwards in the retreat from the Jotuns, being killed, making their way underground, and then the horrors of the world below into the Darakul and their fight there. It's always been continuous suffering and fighting
peace
for them. But they've never known peace. There's always been conflict. There's always been suffering for them. So this is their way of trying to dream and hope for a more optimistic future for themselves and for their own salvation. That until the stars return, it's become just for a race like that. It's become very much just like a mantra that they hold to themselves to keep them going in the darkest of hours.
It's beautiful. And I think when things like this occur naturally, it's even better. It's like it wasn't written in as a saying. It just kind of evolved by our talks about them when I pitched like the idea. And I brought it to you. I was like, hey, I'm developing this new thing. And it's like, you're like, I want to play it.
I love the Starless. I'm sorry, I just love this. The whole Starless thing is being one of my favorite races to get into and play and really flesh out as a character as well.
But it is because it became like, you know, we see characters who like Mercestial who being a tiefling is not like so much integral to Mercestial's identity as it is for Calasindir, who's being a Starless is like the majority of his story is like, I am what I am because I am a Starless.
Yes.
You know? Like for such people,
it's a matter of pride and self-identity. Calasindir is being Starless. That is a very essential part of who he is. The Starless have a very
strong self-identity.
Yes. Like the unity for them is everything in terms of their commonality between each Starless. And I'm really looking forward to getting more into that, which is why I hope the group does go to Ishgard Exandia or more interactions with other Starless, because I think that's something that'd be very interesting to.
I'd be very curious to see you
go into.
You ever end up in if you like, not even when, but like if, because like we in theory could go a long time throughout this campaign if we end it at the point of this is like the end with Samael's passing. We may not get to Ishgard Exandia. That could be a thing where it's just like it's not something that we get to, which would be a bit of it might be something we see in an epilogue, like almost Calasindir's return, because there's so much pressing Calasindir on the surface.
Which is something that hasn't ever come up in conversation, but there is. This is a turn to me talking about Calasindir. I can tell that there is a degree of for Calasindir where he's resigned himself to never returning to the world below. There is a part of him that fully well believes that he will live and die on the surface. Now, this is where his mission will be, and that it may very well end in his death, and the surface will be his grave. He will never see home again.
Also, for people that are curious, here's Ariel Keep. We talked about it a little bit. This is the palace that the party has. Although the aspect ratio is a little skewed right now because of the current format we're on. But this is it. This is where they live. It is under repairs. Very cool.
Soon it will be filled out with nice rooms and estates.
Soon. But no, that's Calasindir is full. Like, do you? Has he? That's wild to me. Like, cause it just strikes me as like so sad. Calasindir never actually being face to face with his mother before he dies.
Yeah, which is he's resigned himself to a degree, knowing that the trials that he will have to undertake in order to recover all of the shards and the weight that is constantly pressing down upon him, that it will probably end him by the time he completes it. And he highly doubts that he will just return home on a casual visit. Unless, he's summoned there for other means. Like, he would love to, but he just can't see it.
Yeah. But I suppose there is that glimmer of hope for him, like, not even like as a hopeful return, which I don't mind going off in tangent, because this is, as it's in the title, this is our off-topic stream. This is just for us to get distracted.
Yes.
Because this is, before we did world building, me and Raph would literally just gather of a Wednesday and normally just talk about D&D like this. So this is what the world building became. But there is a glimmer of hope for Calasindir to be brought back, because you know for a fact that the Empire of Ghouls is working with Samael. So there could be a moment of panic, hope, whatever you want to call it, like strive for war. That, for like, I don't know, like, you know, what way it could come up, but, or what way Calasindir might think it could come up, but like, it's not a zero number. Like, I wouldn't say Calasindir, like, I understand he's fully resigned to it, like, obviously just kind of like to protect his own feelings and to try and, if he dies, die at peace. But I don't think there's, like, I think there should at least still be something in his mind being like, seeing himself, whether it's back in Ishenhar Xandir, maybe not, but definitely in a sense of like, if the, like, for example, if the campaign were to go on, I would see a few bits being as like our prime enemies, if Samael were to be defeated, would be the Empire of Ghouls, it would be the Lord of Disintegration, it would be Solelia. Like, there's the three pillars of like villains that I would have.
I mean, look, there is a massive, but like, I would love to experience Ishenhar Xandir's Calasindir, especially having recovered at least one shard by the time of his return, if not more by the time of his return. The triumphant parade for Calasindir as he enters the city, having obtained the shards. Because there are parts to his character that you know and that I know, which haven't really come up yet. Yes, which I will just,
You can not answer this if you don't want to, because I know this could possibly come up in game eventually, or even just epilogue. So, do you think if Calasindir recovered one or more shards and returned to Ishenhar Xandir, would expect the throne to be passed to them over his sister, even though he is not next in line?
That's a very good question, Des. That is a very good question.
You don't have to answer for stream. You can save it for me after if you want, but
all I'll say is that if the opportunity presented itself,
that's not the question. That's not the question. Like, passing over, like, you can answer this to me off stream, because this is something I want to know. But like, your sister, your eldest sister, is next in line for the Starless Kingdom. She is the Thal'Kelzir, the eldest born. And albeit not like 100% matriarchal, it is a slightly more woman-centric kingdom. So both Calasindir being of the incorrect gender, and the fourth, and also being the fifth child.
He is the fifth child.
So
he has an older.
But if he had achieved such great accomplishment, would he like have this pride or hubris where he's like, I deserve the throne, I've done more for the Starless than anyone else?
Yes. Absolutely. And if he gets into it, he sees himself as the only one amongst his family of having vision, both in a very literal sense and in a very actual sense. He sees him as the only one that has a long-term view of things to be done.
Because you don't know your sister's plan to rule. You don't know what she's been studying. And so this is like,
which is the
would
thing.
Calasindir start conflict to take the throne?
He hasn't been there for 4 years now. He's missed out on a lot. And even the last sort of few decades of his time there, he barely met with his family. It was spent in training and preparation, in trying to rein in his power, so as it was. So he wouldn't, but that's how he views it from before that, in the century before that, and growing up in childhood and everything. He's always held that view for himself, and he has certain views which I won't go into too much, because that's something which may come up and which would be fun to put up in character. I don't think anyone from the group is necessarily going to be watching these unless there's Dario suddenly going to poke up out of nowhere. But in case they do, there's some stuff I don't really want to say. But Calasindir is ambitious and ruthless.
I'm just so curious, could there be conflict within the Starless Kingdom?
Potentially. Potentially on the direction it looks like his sister is taking, or is looking to take things. Because he has wild. It is because Calasindir has a lot of ambitions. When he was saying to Zamani, after he died, like, I have achieved nothing in my time. And she was trying to say, like, no, for him, which is the thing, is that I'm really trying to embody, I'm playing as someone who is expected to live for hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of years post this time. He has plans laid out for that. He has dreams he wants to fulfill for that time, and they are ambitious.
I know these. This is just like very, like, I feel like we could talk about this, yes. But we'll catch up on chat
really quick. Which would be really fun to get into. But yeah, to catch up on chat quickly,
Demon there. As a fun part of flavoring I have for her is when she casts stuff not tied to her weapons, she may tie some piece of her clothing into it. Like one example is, say, for stealth outfit, she has a glove or sleeve made of the flesh of a gibbering mother, and she points at the hand at her enemies and casts Crown of Madness. Say above the target is a mound of flesh covered in eyes and mouths that seem to be making said target insane. That's interesting. It's always good to flavor things. I like that a lot. Yeah, flavor is like, it's why we play D&D.
And I like outfits playing into that, actually. I think outfits are something that's often there for characters in terms of, like, I've got, like, what I've got is my starting equipment, I've got my traveling outfit or whatever it's called, traveling clothes. But it's never really expanded upon that too often. But I think it just makes sense for characters to have outfits that tie into it. And I think if you include it into their abilities, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. But no, that's there's so much in theory that could be done.
There's so much I could talk about for Callous D going forward.
I know we could talk about
I think we're getting a tiny bit distracted from the old gods. So actually, I'm curious. There's actually something to go back upon. Was there an incident that caused the Dawn Watcher and everyone to break apart the Void Dragon, or was it merely like out of what potentially they could do? Like, were there any great acts performed by the Void Dragon that demonstrated their destructiveness, or?
Well, yeah. Originally, there was 11 realms.
Rest in peace.
No, that's the thing. Is that, and mind you, Karrthus Thor wasn't actually a realm until after the Void Dragon was dispatched.
Right.
But so there was 11 realms, 4 of them getting destroyed, and then 1 being created. The Void Dragon is literally a devourer of worlds. Is like almost the things like, and I would say many more realms than that. Is like the Divine Observer was creating realms as this stuff happens. Hello, Drone. And as they were making these realms, the Void Dragon was literally eating worlds, because it is the world ender. It is the Void Dragon. It is the last moment of shadow before the eternal darkness. So, and I think the inciting incident was probably the Void Dragon's attempt to try and eat the sun was the next plan, and that's when these old ones were made to stop, like the Dawn Watcher. It's like literally protecting the dawn of the sun.
Yeah.
Which is how he got that name, before, and then the others started following names in suit. Demon says, I may be going a bit above and a bit extra right now, but having people who have had much more experience with D&D than me to be kind of a bounce board for my characters. Also, if you want to see such a beautiful but derpy cleric, is a monster called the Bristled Moorbounder. And sorry if I'm distracting you, ADHD is truly my brand. Look, we're distracted today. This is literally the off-topic stream, Demon, so just chat with us.
Look,
let's hang
out. You've seen how chaotic and distracted we get. But yeah, I'm always down to see new creatures, beasts, monsters, and like.
Why does the Void Dragon eating the sun remind me so much of Norse mythology, Fenrir? Well, Drone, there's a very good reason for that. I am Irish, and a lot of Celtic mythology inspires my writing. Both, Celtic and then Norwegian. Like, a lot of, that Nordic and Celtic inspiration comes into my... come on, we have Jotuns. I believe that's almost like a direct rip from...
Yeah.
Not
that's
the name is, but not their stuff. It's like... A lot of Norse mythology inspires me. A lot of Norse and Celtic mythology. That Viking heritage. I believe I have come on stream once with my hair braided back like a Viking. At least once. But no, that's right.
I was going to actually ask.
You asked about the inciting incidents, but there was
not
so many... Yes. The Void Dragon, literally, they are the world ender. The world ender.
Mm-hmm.
There is
Yeah.
no hope for when that, like, bar the, like, and even with that sense, it's like the Dawn Watcher and siblings made to destroy the Void Dragon. I'd say the Dawn Watcher might have been one of 100 Great Old Ones sent to fight the Void Dragon. You know, they led the charge, but many fell.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's like 5 dudes went, rocked up on the Void Dragon, you know, pulled up outside his house with pitchforks and stuff. It's like, no, the Void Dragon ended a lot of realms. You know, there could have been, like, as I said, there was about 11 realms when I originally started drafting up, like, this world as an idea, and then I cut. You're dead. Demon says,
yeah, I think it makes sense.
I'm a huge mythology nerd, especially with Greek and Roman, Egyptian and Norse, so I often mentally draw parallels between them and any story concept that sounds familiar. Well, that's the thing, Jerome, isn't it? That there's no such thing really anymore as an original story. There's just new ways of telling it, you know? Like, world enders aren't an original concept, you know? Wars between gods aren't an original concept. It's just my take on it.
No, it's maintained, and also it's also about how you decide to implement these different ideas and what you decide to draw upon and how you construct it. That gives it a degree of uniqueness to it and a degree of difference compared to other stories. Because whilst the overall concepts, the execution of it is what makes it unique and what makes it stand out.
And I think we executed quite well. Raph, did I say
and
in
terms of that,
execute today?
Oh, that was smooth.
Smooth like crunchy peanut butter.
But in terms of in general as well, like in terms of a lot of more like Western fantasy things, there is like across a lot of it, there is a lot of influence from, you know, Celtic and Norse mythology, Roman mythology, Greek mythology. There's a lot of the influence that's inherent within it.
Very tangent here. The fact that J.R. Tolkien hated Celtic mythology, but literally, like, so much of it is like the story of the Fomorians and like these long-lived elves. Like, it's literally very almost one-to-one Celtic mythology of like what the elves and Sauron, like the Baelor is basically Sauron represented by a burning eye and everything. So much of it is so similar, but he had such a disdain for
that's because mythology. I mean, look, a lot of European mythologies have a lot of parallels to one another. And like a lot of mythologies do have parallels between another, which is actually very interesting. Lots of comparative cosmologies and mythologies. There's a lot of these parallels and similarities that cross over.
True. But it's so interesting because like even like this story of like the elves and the Fomorians, it's like it's the Fomorian and the Baelor, like they're very, very similar. Like to the Celtic one, but I'm pretty sure it's almost like historically even noted that Tolkien was like not a fan and did not credit any of his ideas to Celtic mythology when you can draw severe parallels across.
Yeah, although that's because a lot of his stuff was more from Nordic in terms of that, which has parallels to Celtic once again.
No, I understand that.
As we said.
It's like the Fomorian and the Baelor, like there's so much like similar there.
Yeah. I agree.
Taylor Cuchulainn is crazy even among hero tales. Yes. It is. Cuchulainn's kind of just wild.
Demon says, I like Greek mythology most because unlike some religion, the gods in mythology also suck. They have faults just like humans, which personally makes the good god 1,000 times more relatable. Yeah, although, I don't know, I've always been a fan of, in fantasy settings, one thing I've always loved is when gods are not human. I like it in terms of, one thing I've always tried to create is when gods as being relatable is a construct of the religion, the organized religions, trying to make them relatable to the worshippers, to the followers, to people at the temples and churches. That is their attempt to try and do that, but the gods themselves are completely alien almost. Like beings of that power, they're very different from the people that worship them. And so there's this disparity between them that if they ever did meet, there would be this huge disjunction between what they anticipate the gods to be like, but then they find them completely, utterly alien to their own imagination.
Yeah.
Which I always love that idea of playing around with that concept when world building.
Like we literally have two very different aspects of gods in our setting, even. Like we have these like almost alien ones, like the Great Old Ones, who care very little for like the mortal realm and what actually affects.
Who they don't think like humanity
Mortals.
does. They don't think like humans.
But then we have the ascended gods who literally were once mortal. And they are very much so like that. But it's like,
hey,
hello, times and appropriate greeting to you too.
Welcome.
How are you today?
How are you doing,
Nathan?
Good to have you here. Drake King says, crazy thing about Kukulkan was a hero who actually took responsibility for his actions. Not many heroes and stories do that. Yeah, you know what? That's true.
Look, he really did just go there and said, yo, my bad. That one's on me. I'll take responsibility for that one. Solid meme. But no, I did briefly want to talk about our main ages that we don't so much see in Quintus. We only have two. Nathan says, I am well. You came up with my recommended, so I thought I'd swing by. Thanks for swinging by.
Thank you.
You doing
glad to have
with your day today? Glad we came upon your recommended page. We're kind of just... You've caught us on a very off-topic day, as the title of the stream says. Normally we're world building based on category, but we're kind of just... The past 9 weeks we've done our cosmology, and we've kind of gone on tangents talking history in each one, so we're vaguely going over history and just vibing with chat today. It's a very relaxed stream today. But there is 3 eras in yeah, vibing and scribing. You're not wrong.
Yep, we are the scribes. So
we're scribbling a little bit.
We are the scribbles.
If you follow the channel, you can also be a scribble. Confirmed. But that being said, there is 3 major times, like eras, so to speak, within Drapnin as a whole that we saw directly influenced by the great old gods. Not so much in Quenthian side because they had gods, so they just have the moment of the humanity's rise and kind of split into 2, like pre-dawn and new dawn, like the humanity's new dawn. But in Drapnin we had the age of mysticism, which is when all the gods were there and a lot of magic creations first came about. And then with the death of the last star elf was the era changing moment, which then brought us into the thaumaturgic era, which was when humanity had as much access to the fresh magic still in the air as they could without any gods telling them to stop. So it became an era of very strong magic, but it was almost the shortest of the 3 years of that time period, because as the gods were gone, magic started rapidly leaving, because the gods in our setting are the ones that actually exude magic and repair the weave. Every spell that is cast tears apart the weave a little bit, and it's the gods' innate being around that repairs the weave around it. So it was of the era the shortest one. Then we had the Prosaic era, which was, as we know, the era of low magic. Magical births had declined to a rapid degree. I think it was like we had 1 in 40 people was born with the capability to even ever do a cantrip, like let alone spells. Yeah, and that was probably one of the
extremely rare.
After the gods left, that was the longest of the 3 eras we had, because it was quite a long time until it was ended by a group of Yuan-Ti who were able to resurrect and reawaken the Horned Serpent, which brought a god back into the realm, which ushered in the Draconic era in Drapnin of the 3 years post mysticism, which has been the one that is still continuing to this day on the Drapnin side. That eventually, when we play Quintus enough, the 2 will meet, when during the Draconic era, the Horned Serpent, being the only god whose material form was awoken, started going around and slaying the slumbering forms, which I'll talk briefly about why a lot of the gods were slumbering. During the War of the Gods, the Quellar gods came to be, and the way they stopped the War of the Gods is they severed the material and spiritual forms and put the material ones to sleep. So, being the only one awake, it's very easy to go around and start destroying the slumbering bodies that are defenseless, bar some mortal protectors that live near it. Nathan, thank you for the follow. That's very cool of you.
Oh, thank you.
Hope you enjoy your stay. Get scribbling. You can join us on any of our socials, or you can also find us on Discord if you want to hang out in there. We do have a small little community that we talk about some of this stuff. We do stream off of Monday. That's our main. This is kind of like our off stream. This is our Wednesday, but our Monday stream is kind of, our flagship. It's when we actually play D&D. And Joan says, I read a book series called The Immortal Nicholas Flamel. I think I've read that, a little bit of it. Apparently the gods vanished from Earth because the beings who were worshipped as gods, called the Elders, were deadly weak against iron. It's ringing a bell. I don't know if I've read that. It sounds familiar. I've definitely read the synopsis of that somewhere.
Let me look at the Secrets of the Immortal. Well, it is an Irish author, so
probably have. But it's probably one of these things I read when I was a teen and just have no memory of it.
Yeah, and the book's apparently finished. I like that. I like that idea. Honestly, I quite liked the Prosaic era. The whole low magic suspicion about like what's up with the gods. Are they dead? Are they alive?
Yeah, there was that entire thing. It's like, are they gone? And divine casters were extremely uncommon. And it got to a stage where there was, like, if you were able to, I think I even talked to it. It also saw a very good rise in modern medicine in Duraplin, though, like for like physicians and healers, because magical healing was just almost non-existent. Like even finding a paladin of like 4th level or higher, or a cleric who could even cast like even a revivify, that was like you wouldn't find it. Like.
Nathan says, always looking for more D&D streams to watch. My sleep schedule is a mess, but it's worth it for Dungeons & Dragons. Look, I agree, Dungeons & Dragons streaming has messed my sleep schedule up. So join me. Join me on being very
we stream our campaign. We're on our flagship Kingstarters campaign. We're 29 episodes deep, so you've got a good backlog if you want to tune in. But we play every Monday at 12 p.m. GMT +1. But what was my attention? I was talking about the Prosaic era and then the Draconic era. So
yes,
the Horned Serpent knew and was aware that it couldn't absorb all aspects of the Void Dragon unless it literally started an apocalypse. But it wanted to rule. It didn't want that full destruction to come about. So it found another third of itself called the Jeweled Wings, and made their way to the Jeweled Wings and absorbed the material realm, form almost like meshing two halves of the personality, but becoming this chaotic, evil and lawful neutral being, becoming this lawful evil being, kind of like this bit where they now rule the Duraplin side wholeheartedly, but they know some secrets that all elves can in theory return to star elves, and all star elves in theory could be risen to a divinity similar to the Ascended or to the old ones. Like even we saw one called the Lunar Glaive.
Calicinda Future.
L plus ratio, no.
Copium.
L plus ratio plus your god is dead plus.
Shut the fuck up, Des. I will. No, but look. It should be Undying God technically, because it can't be killed. Checkmate. Ascended
was killed.
Look, technically isn't actually dead, just the physical form destroyed. Shattered.
That's
shattered.
why it's dying. It's a process.
Soon to be returned, God. Sleep is a demon says. True. Demon says sleep is a social construct. Exactly. It's what I live by. It's what I think half of our group live by, because we collectively exist upon like 10 hours of sleep a week.
Yeah, look, it's a whole thing.
So yeah, that is here.
I frequently and often stay up to times I should not, just to play League of Legends or watch League of Legends. So I relate to that.
Hey Des, how about those Clash games you've set up playing?
Oh no, I don't want to.
Drink it King. I've also known that in the past, iron was basically considered an anti-magic substance. Yeah, no, there is a lot of properties in the mythology and sort of superstitions around iron having certain properties and uses to it.
Look, mythology is just kind of bonkers.
Yeah, which is interesting. Like in terms of D&D, something I wouldn't mind that they implement more into games is vulnerabilities and like weaknesses of certain entities, of certain beings, of certain creatures, having weaknesses to things like iron as an example we're just talking about. Yeah, cold iron. But that's something that we've implemented in game, but it's not something that most monster profiles have.
I thought you meant like us in our game. I was like, bruh. It's like, how can
there's cold iron. There's cold iron, but it's not like there's like an equivalent to that for the Celestials necessarily, or like their fiends and stuff. Like,
there isn't.
Well, not that we know of.
Not that you know. Nathan
in
says,
terms
how long
of-
have you been playing tabletop RPGs? So me and Raf have been playing together over 4 years. Myself, I got into D&D in 2016. And I've been playing for about 6 years, a little over, based on time of year.
4 years for me. Basically 4 years for me.
Yeah, basically all of it with me. Too many.
Yeah, about 95% of it with this. But yeah, so a bit of time. And both of us, while we've mostly played 5e, we have tried other games across our time.
Yeah, we've done Starfinder, I've done Open Legends, I've done Vampire the Masquerade. I've looked into Pathfinder, but too many numbers.
I've played Pathfinder. First edition Pathfinder. I haven't tried second edition Pathfinder.
See, that's wild because I've only read second edition.
Ah, shit.
But
there you go.
Yeah, so our settings, our material realm is kind of like it's a planet because in all our realms are planets, but basically there is a band around the middle of the realm that serves as the elemental plane of water because our material realm maintains and holds all the elemental planes within it, almost like a firmament for the elemental plane of air. The mountains contain, and deep below the world below, the world below, the world below is the elemental plane of earth and such. So the elemental plane of water separates, and a god called the Firewalker maintains an item that makes the elemental plane of water impassable up to a certain point. Where in Draconic era, where we left off Daraplin before we start Quintus, it ended with the two worlds finally making contact. And now we start playing through the history of Quintus. We're going to play up to the point where they meet. Oh, that's cool. I started playing in 2018 when I went to university, joined Tabletop Gaming Stock, and I've only recently started DMing my own stuff. Nice. I never have been a player in, not like never, but I don't think I've ever had more than 5 sessions in a row as a player. I think most of the time, like me and Ralph got very briefly in a while. We were in a small campaign. We've got like 5 sessions deep, then had to end. So I've always, even from day one when I started, I got into D&D with a group of guys as the DM.
Yeah.
So I've been like this since the beginning.
Besides a few like one shots here and there.
Yeah, which I bust at the most busted builds that make Cade extremely frustrated.
Okay, Des has 2 modes for one shots. One of them is just busted builds, and the other one, it's either busted builds or fucking insane zany characters that just make you think like, what the fuck? And sometimes both of them mixed together.
See, actually, I think it's one form. I just have different types of roleplay. Because if you remember Whacking Phoenix, he was also insanely busted monk built for 1v1.
Honestly, I don't remember that.
Do you not remember me literally eviscerating Austin in 1 round?
Who's Austin? No.
Somewhere in Texas.
No, I remember that kind of, but I remember his character more than I remember what he did in actually combat. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, he was a junkie.
Look, it was the exact experience of walking down a Dublin back alley at sort of 3 a.m. and being attacked by a random drunken, drugged up man.
20 cents for a hostel, and you're like, oh god.
And then you try and run, and this man just somehow sprints up to you within the blink of an eye.
What? I think one of the most busted ones I played was the Aliced Earth Elementalist Mage. Just could not be hit because of the AC with the stones.
However, also Gwendolyn.
Gwendolyn was, within the confines you were given, the most busted shit we could do.
What was? Yeah, I forgot. What was the big Scottish one?
We all had to take 1 level in cleric was the requirement.
Yeah.
Which I think I went war cleric and then Oath of the Vengeance paladin. I think it was something because it was, and then you went grave cleric almost full, and we basically went vulnerability for a big divine smite on fiends to deal absurd damage.
Look, your builds always do the most absurd damage.
Look, I like to build things and I go like, okay, if I'm gonna play, I'm gonna try and do this as best as I can and see what I can do. Because also, as a DM, you see so many builds come your way that you're kind of like, yeah, this, and then once upon a time, and every now and then, you get something that just catches your eye. You're like, I can have a 30 AC.
Yeah, like
why not?
I can do how much damage in a single turn? Yeah.
Look, I just like bigger number, better person.
Fact.
Because I think it definitely comes apart. Like, as much as I love roleplay, at the same time, I also love being like that sort of wargaming aspect, like kind of like most optimum play I can make. But then Nathan says, and so first thing, Drone, the biggest hurdle I'll face trying to DM is I haven't made a case of stage fright. I actually have stage fright. I had stage fright, and I was not like I was not confident. Public speaking was like could not do it, and I think the best thing is just like it's kind of like one of these things, just teaching someone to swim the wrong way. Just throw yourself into the deep end. Like once you get over the thing of like, oh, I'm gonna make silly voices and people are gonna laugh, but the thing is your friends are laughing with you. And starting it out, it's probably been the best exposure therapy I could have for my fear of public speaking, because back when I could not, for the sake, like if I was getting up in class in like college or school, like I would be shaking, weak in the knees, like not want to speak in front of people. And then Nathan's, I sort of fell into DMing by accident. DM dropped out and I was the only one with all the relevant books, and the group asked me to run something made up a 6-hour game on the fly, fueled by 4 cans of Monster and 1 hour of sleep. That's all you need.
Are you Des? That sounds exactly like how Des breaks.
Yeah, you were telling us, Dren, you say, right now I'm working on the details of the evolutionary split in my homebrew world between Dragonborn and Lizardfolk. You told us about this. The Lizardfolk will be given fire claws or bites as a way of them making use of their inner fire in a more savage and destructive manner, since their draconic nature changed as they traded the path of the destructive flame over the peaceful and warm life-giving fire the Dragonborn follow. Yeah, no, weird. Was this last week or the week before we were talking about this? It was very interesting. It was very, very cool. I quite enjoyed it. But yeah, we're now playing through the Quentin history, which is split into currently 2 eras, hopefully 3 when Samael wins, where we're going to have we have pre-dawn, we have new dawn, and then we're gonna have I'm not gonna say what I would call the next the blood dawn. That would be very good. Yeah Look, BD no longer stands for brain dance. Fuck that cyberpunk shit.
Well, we're just gonna scroll some BDs. How about it is? No, come on, Shum. No, okay.
That's a no idea.
Like,
no,
but Samael was not going
to. If Samael wins, that would be the year of a new time.
Which would be actually be fascinating, because that's technically 2 separate worlds now, where he's fractured the timelines and created a new timeline. Well, not timeline, but new era.
My DM friend said to alter how their fire aspect works, since the god wouldn't punish the Lizardfolk for following half of its nature and stripped them of their elemental powers. Absolutely. Then Nathan says the caffeine-fueled game turned into a full campaign and made up the basis for my current homebrew world, Plunder. Nice. I had a world like that started out, and then I wrote myself into a lot of corners, so I kind of scrapped it all and started writing a new one, and that's been what we've been working on since. Like I've been working on since late 2018. I think.
Yeah, I want to say that.
Yeah, late 2018, and Raph started helping me late 2021 with the writing, I think.
Yeah, around about late 2021.
About. But I'm trying to think history. We're kind of catching up to time now.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things to fill in here and there, like the War of the Gods itself. We haven't really discussed.
I feel like that's an entirely separate stream.
That's entire, but to do like a very run, actually, yeah, I feel like in terms of like what happened beforehand, essentially, if you want to go into that in terms of how it affected, or did you want to discuss a bit more going back to the Void Dragon and the Divine Observer?
But do you have any questions that you want to answer? Because we never do that. I gave you a chance to ask like Gremlin Raph questions that you want, because I must admit, we try and keep this between an hour and a half, 2 hours kind of vibe, and I know it is late for you because of daylight savings.
It's all right. I I'm curious actually, in regards to the Void Dragon, if there were any attempts prior to the Horned Serpent to restore all three halves. If anyone made that effort before, or if it was simply like it's been done, leave it. Or if some of like gods, demons, devils, or whatever took it upon themselves to attempt to,
So
recreate it.
no, because at the time, so first of all, it hasn't worked. That's straight up because most beings, like even devils and demons, they know that the void dragon doesn't just mean the end of the material realm; it means the end of all realms. And
Yeah.
also, a lot of them don't know about it, which is it's odd thing. So trying to find a person that would be like just wanting to end everything that way is like there is no benefits. Like normally who like even with like Cthulhu and stuff, like they get pulled in by that madness, but the Void Dragon doesn't
Mm.
have that. So if someone wanted to try and do that for the Void Dragon, they would wholeheartedly have to believe and want that they just want everything to end. Like not just for themselves,
Yeah.
but for everything, everyone, every planet, the sun, all of it gone. Just stop
Yeah.
everything. Which
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any being out there that would want that. And at the time as well,
Mm.
those few great beings, like some century great worms. Actually, I could see maybe the great worm in Rabosa doing it. Not Rabosa, Principle. Just being like
Irillion?
everything has to end.
Oh, yeah,
Like
Principle.
this is
Right.
the
Right.
answer.
Right. Yeah.
Like Principle be like
Yeah.
everything has to end. There is like true balance is when there is nothing left to balance.
If it's like a dark timeline principle, yeah.
Yeah. As in like everything's gone to shit. We need to just reform the Void Dragon and end.
Yeah.
Like and hope that the Divine Observer is strong enough to start over, kind of like Solelio,
And you,
but on a bigger scale. But
yeah,
also at
essentially
that
the
same
Solelio
stage,
for the entire universe.
people that would have known about it, it's like you would have had to try and somehow get the like. Remember the three parts of it were fully aware beings. The
Mm.
the jeweled wings, the horned serpent, and the matron of the wood, which only two of which were on speaking terms by the time the
Yeah.
War of the Gods happened. Like so,
Yeah.
and like even any ritual to like reassemble them would be so beyond the capable of mortal means. It would have to be other great old ones or beings of similar power that I just don't think it could have happened because
Yeah. Yeah.
we would know about it. Like, because they would be trying to basically
Yes.
what kill the kill or dismember or incapacitate the mortal forms enough to have all three mortal parts together to do a ritual to like, or maybe even one being consume all three. Actually, that would be a very, very interesting one. If if Principal tried to make a machine to absorb all three parts of the Void Dragon, so it could be the one to ever.
So are we
make a
talking
Doomsday
about
machine.
I was gonna say we're talking about like Mecha Void Dragon.
Oh my god, Mecha Void Dragon Doomsday Machine.
Mecha Void Dragon. That just sounds like such an anime villain, but I love it.
That's the only way I could think of it happening. 100%.
Yeah.
Like 100%,
Yeah.
honestly, that's what I'm thinking. But even then, I don't know. The world would have to get so imbalanced that it could not be restored by any means.
Yeah. 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 Which I'm also just interested in regards to that for the old gods. How attached are they to the prime material as their realm?
Um,
Like for some of them, I imagine it's stronger than others. But like, is there a
Some don't
sense like
give a
some of them,
fuck.
as we've seen with like the Dawn Watcher, very much sees himself as the protector of this world and the ruler in a sense of this world. Then I imagine others don't really
it would
care
vary
for
great
it in
over
that
by great
sense.
one. Like the arbitrator has never bothered
Yeah.
stepping foot. The guiding light never
Yeah.
bothered stepping foot on it. Like, so just
Well, come on, Dennis.
well,
Come on. Come on.
confirm never step foot under Apodin.
Let me get the pinboard.
No, but there's
But
gods
yeah,
like the Hangman
yeah.
Ship who don't bother really going there much. That don't see a
Mm.
strong thread. But like, for example, like the Matron of the Wood, and specifically like the second generation of great old gods, like the Eye of Ruin. Like this is where they were born. This is
Yes.
their home. The Firewalker. This
That's
is where he
true.
was born. Like I
That's
was born here.
Actually, yeah, that is a very good point. Very good point. I imagine that there is a lot of difference between first generation old gods and second, third generation old
Yeah,
gods.
especially like you talk like the Golden Pillar. She's literally like her father was born on the material realm. It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they would even see it as like kind of not
This
like
is my home.
we know on Verbosa that there is infinite like demiplanes for all the old ones that they want, but like some beings like the Golden Pillar, like while they don't directly interact, they would have had like grand palaces and not interacted with their mortal followers too much, bar star elves that wouldn't be hurt by it because they don't want to give people godlike. But for example, the Golden Pillar would be like, why would I leave this realm? This realm is my father's realm.
Yeah.
This is my father's father's realm. I was born here. My father was born here. My father's father settled this realm. Like, they wouldn't see us like wanting to leave to the land of Celestials because, first of all, they don't see themselves as Celestials. They don't want to just wander the endless expanse.
Well, they're not Celestials. That's like one of the biggest things about the Old Gods is that they're not technically Celestials.
Technically, the planet like that their being would have been created from was eaten by the Void Dragon.
Yeah.
Was one of the 4 eaten realms.
Essentially, they're like extra, I actually kind of like that as like very much like the impetus for their exodus to the prime material was the destruction of their own planet.
Yeah. It's like the being, because remember, the Divine Observer didn't just make them floating around in the void. Now, some of them certainly do just float around the endless expanse now, but they had a realm that they were made on, and that realm was destroyed by the Void Dragon. It was eaten. It was absorbed. It was consumed.
Nom.
It was a Tendi, and there was enough good boy points by the Void Dragon to have it.
No, there wasn't enough, and that's why the Void Dragon had to be stopped. Hasn't stocked up all of their good boy points.
No, but that's how it started by. So like, they see it as like, even the Dawn Watcher and like some of them like the Arbitrator, they don't mind having a infinite demiplane. That's giving Superman vibes. It's kind of similar, yeah. I suppose you could say Destroyed Planet, kind of similar to Superman, but
yeah.
I don't think Superman. It's been a while since I've read a Superman comic. I don't think he could create a species of people at will. I'll have to double check the comics.
I don't think Superman's a great old one, or is he? I don't know.
Well, no, Superman by theory, by nature, could be a great old one, but if you could argue it, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're an interesting category.
Mystic Gamer, thanks for the follow.
Well, thank you. But yeah, old gods in the setting, which is one of the reasons I'm always attracted to them as something to build a character around, is because they're such an interesting concept in the sense like they're great old gods, as we know, but they've essentially civilized themselves into becoming gods.
Yeah.
But they're not celestial beings that are inherently like that. It's just what they've chosen for themselves and for their own identity. They could easily have decided not to have done that and not gone down that path. So which I just really, really find that interesting.
All right, let's catch up on chat a little bit. So,
I'm
also trying to think up a list of rumors and stuff for my starting town. Rumors are great. Myths are great as well. I have myths for the gods. That is another fun one. There's a few good random tables for those things that you can find. There's a lot of. I think I have a few books that are just random generating books, which are cool. I have a rumor generator table and superstition generator table I found on Reddit. That's giving Superman vibes. It was. Right now I'm trying to think of a rumor, something involving the starting town in my world, which is a fishing town since it's got a river running past it. Oh, that's why towns are built. They're like a lot of medieval towns are built around water sources. You could like even Irish towns like Salmon and Knowledge. You know what I'd love to see. This is just off tangent completely. Buddy cop style show. Salmon of Knowledge, Cuchulainn. Buddy cop.
That sounds
stupid as fuck. Brilliant.
Stupid as fuck. Look, honestly, I actually don't know much about the Salmon of Knowledge.
Looks like you haven't been eating enough salmon. Could have a rumor that the townsperson is hoarding the daily catches to rack the prices up. That's good. That's a good early investigation. I suppose, what's the purpose you're looking for this drone? Are you looking for it to be something that the players can act on? Is it meant to be a rumor to start a quest? You can have someone poisoning the river at its source. There could be like the rivers at like low tide at all times because it's drying up. Something's happening at the source. Someone's doing something at the source of the river. There's a lot of stuff you can attribute to that if you want to make it a quest.
Mm-hmm.
But Any more questions for Raphael?
I'm actually I'm really interested about so many facets of this. For the old gods, in terms of their actual, the closest thing to their true form, like their god form they take, the one that gives god blight to people who witness it. I'm just really interested about, like, are some of them more great old one-y than others?
Yeah.
Like, we know that some of them are literally just like big dragon creatures, and others appear as like very regal looking gods, very godlike in that sense. But I imagine some would. I don't know. We actually haven't seen it. I've just always imagined that the Dawn Watcher would choose to appear in a very, very much like that.
Bruh, you're going to be sad if I describe the Dawn Watcher's true form to you.
Oh no, I won't. What is the true form? Because I think it actually what I like, which is biblically accurate angel.
A large, like, bipedal, multi-winged being with a face that is literally a sun, like an actual blazing sun. He has no head; it's just the sun.
That's fucking cool as fuck. Holy shit!
And he's like so multiple rings, just like, you know, very like biblical angel, just many rings floating around in all directions. Like all.
Why would you say I was going to be sad? That is amazing. That makes the horned serpent. That makes the horned serpent look like a little bitch in his appearance. Big dragon, fuck off. I want this fucking bipedal, sun-faced, multi-ringed, biblically accurate just, angel motherfucker over here.
Flames. Like,
and what was the Dying God's god form?
You'll never know.
Shut the fuck up, Des. I will, okay? I will. Stop it. I want to know this question. Why didn't you ask me what the
Guiding Lights one was?
What was the Guiding Lights?
I'm not telling you that either, just to fuck with your theory. I just want the town to seem alive enough for my players to explore before the main plot hits it, or that there's an old fisherman who swears he met a wishing fish. You could have a rival fishing families who disagree on the correct way to serve a certain fish. Keep in mind, Nathan, that the town is in the middle of a festival when the players start. Two different towns that claim their place is the birth of the local delicacy.
Festival could be a really interesting backdrop if you're looking in terms of rumors or like certain stories going around of what's happened. A festival is a very interesting backdrop because there's a lot going on, a lot of new people that have entered towns. There could be rumors about, like, some of these actors or like performers that have come into town. There's like rumors about them, what they're actually doing. Some of them are actually, some of the rumors, some of them are spies sent here, or like some of them were found, even like something a bit more like basic. Some of them were found having accidentally murdered someone in a tavern brawl, and they're like trying to cover up their act. Like, you really go into the backdrop of the festival to creating these rumors for that.
But
anyway, it's the annual festival to celebrate the gods and 4 heroes of old. We can even have like a rumor, like this significant person in the city, they don't actually respect and celebrate the gods and these 4 heroes. They're actually secretly in their halls were dismissing them and saying disrespectful things about them. You could have rumors about that, which would be something interesting. But yeah, and so in terms of the old, now I want to hear the descriptions for all of them in terms of what they look like. Fuck. What was the Eye of Ruins? What was the Eye of Ruins appearance?
So bipedal like his father, large and imposing, but very much so like, kind of like where his head would be kind of like Eye of Sauron, one thing, and would be about 8 arms, each with a blade, each with a sword.
Fuck, that's cool. That's so
full armored. Like,
oh, I love that. That is so old.
Actually, no, I think he would actually be quadruped. So, but like kind of like centaur, but 8 arms.
Okay.
But the back half would be draconic.
Yep. Which makes sense. Matron. Fuck. Which actually, you know what? It makes sense then. Actually, because I know that the horned serpent appeared as a dragon. That makes sense. They're not technically the old one. they're the Void Dragon. So if you're in a dragon form, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, so there's aspects of draconity, draconism for all of the Ivern, not the Ivern, yes. the Dawnwatcher's children. But he would be very much like Void Dragon-esque. But I think that's the last bit of the stream where I'm going to do a little bit of shilling for us.
Absolutely, go straight into it.
We're just going to come and start just talking about each aspect of the old ones. But yeah, if you liked what you saw here today, please consider following us. It's the best way to support us. Other than that, if you want to support us further, subscribing to the channel is a great way. You know, no ads, very poggers, all that sort of good stuff. But the best way to support us, I believe right now, is probably our Patreon, which is, you know, kind of cool. We got some benefits on there. We have 3 tiers. We've got 5, 10, and 15 bucks a month. And for $5 a month, you get access to our World Number, where all of these notes eventually end up. For 10, and you get access to some of the subclass we made, and there will be more soon. Wait for more information on that. We have a big announcement coming soon, towards the end of the start of next month, middle of next month.
We have a few big announcements. Steadily, one after the other.
Yeah. But for $10 a month, you get access to the battle maps I make for our regular game, and for $15 a month, you get access to my behind-the-scenes notes, which I have to update this week's ones because I have not got to it. I might get to it tomorrow morning. It's a great way to support us because it's, you know, it's just a better split for us, to be fully honest. It's the best way to help us grow. Other than that, you should come hang out with us on all of our socials, where it's best, quickest information to find us. Our Twitter will hopefully start getting a little bit more active, but our Discord is probably the primary place to find everything Eldritch Scribble related. Other than that, we're going to raid out today because it's getting late. We're probably going to raid Mindaria. She is our regular hunt of a Wednesday afternoon. Nathan, it's great to have you. Please come and hang out with us, and we hope to see you around. We're here every Monday and Wednesday for the foreseeable future. Hopefully, depending on my work schedule, things are changing where I work, unfortunately, so we may have a few rocky weeks, but we will see you around, and we will see you Monday. Bye.
See you, everyone.